Hey folks, wanted to go try a new technique here or a new avenue of communication for you, since those lengthy emails probably weren't the best means of communication. So we're going to try this and see if this works a little bit better to get across a few items we want to make sure you're aware of each week. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the two folders that you should have in your room each week. There's the records notebook and the communications folder. The records notebook is the first item, and this actually contains 7 different things. The first thing that contains is the handbook record sheets, where you'll record the achievements of each child during small group time. So as they recite verses, etc. This is where you'll record that information. The second is a token tracking sheet, and this item is only found in the Sparks record notebooks. TNT and Ignite, you will not have those, and we'll talk about the reason why in just a bit. The third item you have is extra handbook record sheets, in case you have a new student that comes and needs a sheet started, or you have a student that is finishing one notebook and moving into another, and or handbook rather, and they're moving into a new one. Then you may need to start a new sheet. The another item, the fourth item that we have in this notebook, is last year's or previous year's record sheets. If you can use those for reference as needed. If you don't need those, then you can place them elsewhere, dispose of them as need be, just as long as you have that continuity that you need in those record sheets. The fifth item that you'll find in your notebook is extra flight 316s for the Sparks group, and start zone for Ignite and TNT. These are the 2 items, if you recall, that a new Awana student would get. So if you have a new Spark, a new child that comes and is a part of the Sparks, you give them Flight 316, and if you have a new student in TNT or Ignite that's never been a part of Awana, you would give them the Start Zone. And otherwise, if they've been a part of Awana, they probably have a handbook that they're already in, and they can just pick up from there and continue on. The 6th item is a payment envelope, and this can be used to give to the parent if they need to purchase a new item for their student, a new handbook, whatever it might be. This is a way to convey to them that they need to make payment. And the last item is a schedule. So it should indicate the schedules that we're following for the year. There's a week 1 schedule, a week 2, 4, and 5 schedule, and a week 3 schedule, and those are indicated as to what times we shift from one activity to the other based on the week. The communications folder is your other folder, and it's the smaller of the 2 and is just the flimsy plastic one. This will contain 7 items as well. It will have the group roster sheets where you can keep attendance. The second item it'll have is the Awana calendar. That'll indicate special nights we're having, theme nights, whatever it might be. The third item is your token guidelines, and this just gives you it gives you the guidelines that we have established for how to reward tokens to the individual students. Fourth item you'll have in there is your lesson plan that contains the review and discussion questions that you'll use during small group time. The 5th item you'll find there is the parent authorization forms. At the end of the day, when we receive those all back from the parents for your group, we'll put those back into your communications folder for your reference for allergy information or whatever it might be regarding that child. The 6th item is a supplies needed form, and we'll talk about that actually coming up here in just a second. And the last item you'll find in that notebook, or that folder I should say, is any kind of weekly communication we need to convey. There might be something in there regarding church announcements, announcements specific to our group, or whatever it might be. So make sure you just check this communications folder weekly for those items. And I mentioned supplies there just a minute ago. We want to make sure you have the supplies that you need when you need them, when the kid needs them. And we've put boxes in each one of the rooms. And I know most of you, I've seen you using those and you're aware of those, so that's good. For those that aren't, check your closets and those in your room, and those are there. We want to make sure you have the supplies in those when you need them. So we've got actually a supply needed form in your communications folder. And what you need to do there is during small group time, if you encounter something that you need, put it on this form. This is actually just a slip of paper. Indicate on there what you need, how many you need, whatever it might be. Put it outside your room during small group time. Katrina, Angie, or I will make our rounds, and we'll pick those items up if we have them in our supply closet and bring them to you. If we don't, then we'll place an order for those as soon as we can. And that might have some lead time attached with it, or some time attached to actually get the item in, I should say. Speaking of lead time, though, where you can really help us is looking ahead in your records notebook for each student as you work with them one-on-one each week. Take a look to see where they are in their progress. If they are within a month and a half of finishing that particular handbook, go ahead and indicate on the supply needed form that you need a new handbook for that student. If by chance we do not have that handbook on hand and we have to order it, there's quite a bit of time that could be involved, and we don't want a child going a good amount of time, if any. We'd rather not them go any time without a handbook. The orders we're going to place, we're probably only going to place them once a month at most due to extreme shipping costs that Awana places on these orders. And we just need to be good stewards of our funds and appreciate you assisting with that. Another item I wanted to talk about, mentioned there ago, is tokens. Tokens, if you recall, are the Yalla coins basically in your closet, and these are collected by each student to use at the Awana store. So the more coins they have, obviously the more they can purchase at the Awana store. So there's some incentive there. Each week, each student gets certain tokens for bringing their Bible, wearing their uniform, verses they recite, those type of things. That's in your token guideline in your records notebook, or your communications folder rather. So take a look at that. Other things that we reward tokens for are kids that are displaying Christ-like characteristics, I should say, that we want to reinforce that type of behavior or those type of things. Then that's another item or another area where you can give tokens. Speaking of the tokens, though, in terms of how we are going to give those to the students, if the Sparks are not going to get their tokens, don't give their tokens to them until the night of Awana store. So that's why we placed a token tracking sheet in your records notebook. So as you give tokens to a student, record the number of tokens you're giving, I should say, or rewarding that student with. Record that in that notebook, and then on the night of the Awana store, we'll give you baggies or something that you can actually count out based on these token tracking sheets. You'll see how many tokens that student has accumulated over the last several weeks, and you'll give them that number of tokens to put in their bag. And that's what they can go to the Awana store with. TNT and Ignite, we're going to ask that you go ahead and give them the tokens as you award them. So each week, students will earn the appropriate tokens for whatever they've done, based on those guidelines. They really enjoy having these, keeping track of them, and it gives them a sense of responsibility, a sense of maturity, if you will, something different than the little kids are doing. So this is a good way to incent them that way, as well as the tokens themselves. Come Awana store night, it's up to them if they brought their tokens or if they have kept track of them, that's great. If they haven't, then that's a tough lesson and responsibility that they may have to learn. Okay, small groups. Small groups are a vital part of the Awana night. And one of the things we'd like for you to do is take a look at your group and look at the number of leaders you have. Split the group into table groups that correspond to the number of leaders. So if you have 3 leaders, split into 3 table groups, and each leader take one of those table groups. And the leader will conduct the review of the lesson, the discussion questions at that table group. They'll also work one-on-one with each of those students in their table group on any achievements that they have, such as reciting the verses or activities they have. This should further build relationships, deeper relationships between the leaders and the students, as opposed to doing it randomly each week. Let us know what kind of feedback you have on that as we go forward, but let's give it a little time and see how it works out. Appreciate your flexibility in that. The last item I have is tracks. Tracks started this past week, as you know, and they went really well, I think. We have the 3 tracks: sewing, or So Much Fun, led by Jennifer Weimer. We have Sports Mix, led by Cody, and we have Fun and Games, led by Derek and Joseph. Each one of the leaders from 3rd through 6th has actually been assigned a track to work with. We've assigned Bethany, Wendy, Cam Amstutz, and Carrie to the So Much Fun to assist Jennifer there. Fun and Games, like Jim and Kelly to help out with that. And Mark and Devin, if you'll help out with the Sports Mix, I think that'll really go a long ways in maximizing the fun that each one of these groups have, and not drive the leaders crazy as they try to conduct the tracks. One note here is So Much Fun has a lot involved with it. Prep once the kids get in the room. So on those track nights, we're letting the So Much Fun group go ahead of the track, that is, go ahead at like 6:10, I believe, is on the schedule for them to go ahead to their track. The other kids won't go to their track until just a little bit later, due to the leaders that are involved there not being able to accommodate them until just a few minutes later. So appreciate your work through that. In regards to this whole video, let me know your feedback on it. Is it a good means of communication? What can I do to make it better? What ways can better equip you? Whatever it might be. If I've confused you in any way, let me know that as well, and I'll make sure I can clarify that in upcoming correspondence or communications that we have. All right, I hope you have a great week. See ya.